it's fair to say the motoring environment is changing quite a lot with electric vehicles now. So if the future fills our roads with sustainably powered self-driving cars, and I'm talking level 5, fully autonomous, so not in the next few years, but within the next 10, 15 years, then you've got the argument that maybe sustainably powered cars will have no environmental impact. Self-driving cars will be safer, so that danger you talked about will lessen, if not disappear. And obviously self-driving cars offer that greater protection from the elements, so that decision-making of should I cycle today is easier with an electric car. So if that perfect self-driving car of the future offers all of these sort of perceived usefulness, high perceived ease of use, what reason will there be to cycle anymore?
Well, it's a really good question. And there's a phrase I find myself shouting at the radio quite a lot, which is, what problem do you believe you're solving here? And I think it's a really useful thing to ask yourself when you think about that sort of future. We sat down, a PhD student and I once sat down with a piece of paper and literally wrote down the problems with today's relationship with motoring. And of our list of something like 15 or 20 problems, the future you've just described only touches about 2 or 3 of them. So this amazing self-driving car that's running off solar energy, it definitely would address carbon emissions, which would be great. Don't get me wrong, that would be a good thing. And it would certainly address safety if it's got perfect robotic brain that never crashes into anything. So there's definitely some benefits. But then what about the other things? What about the social exclusion of people who can't afford this mobility? What about the social exclusion of people whose neighborhoods are separated by roads and they can't access their neighbors because it's unsafe and it's noisy and it's unpleasant outside because of motor traffic? Well, you've now just made more motor traffic. So that's got worse. What about, critically, the tens, hundreds of thousands of people dying prematurely because of lifestyle illnesses? That's just got worse because now nobody's walking or cycling anywhere. It's now, have you seen the film WALL-E? It's now that. That's what you've just created. A load of people completely physically inactive, sat in chairs, being transported from place to place by a robot. So they're all dying early of diabetes and Alzheimer's and things like this. Air pollution is potentially a lot worse suddenly because of the tire dust and so on. There's so many problems that aren't touched just by fixing the motors and by fixing the driver. So don't get me wrong, those are not trivial. The carbon emissions, the collisions, they're incredibly important. And the collisions are almost certainly wildly more important than your listeners think, because it's about 1.3 million people killed every year by driving. But even those massive things are only part of the problem. Our current relationship with cars is so problematic. And to the extent I keep joking, tell me what you care about and I'll tell you why less cars is the answer.
And